Thank you everyone for joining us. I'm Lorenzo Montanari, I'm Director for the Property Right Alliance. I just want to briefly introduce a little bit the idea of Property Right Alliance and the index, and why property right and IP are important. Property Right Alliance was founded in 2005 in Washington, D.C. with the idea to promote and defend rule of law, IP, property right all over the world. We developed the index in 2007 through the partnership with Hernando de Soto. He's a free market economist that wrote the famous book Mystery of Capital, and focusing mainly on his research on why property rights are the key the backbone for any free market economy. And we work a lot doing coalition letter and organizing policy conference all over the world. We always like to start mentioning that for us property rights are human rights, following the Article 17 or Article 27 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, where basically they say that everyone has the right to own property alone as well as in association with others, and no one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his property. And so on, Article 27 more focus on the creativity, innovation, and IP. But also, Hayek was mentioning that the system of private property is the most important guarantee of freedom, not only for those who own property, but scarcely less for those who do not. And as well as Thomas Sowell, a libertarian economist, is highlighting the importance of property right, free speech right and property right belong legally to individual, but their real function is social, to benefit vast number of people who do not themselves exercise this right. And there are three main questions behind our index. What would the world be like without property right? Or how would the country build the strength, the property right, and improve the free market system economy without a fair, transparent political environment? Or how would a company or startup defend its own trademark copyright without a consolidated intellectual property right system? So with the index, we try to answer this basic question, and we will see with the Professor Sara Levi-Carciente the details and the result, and also different correlation regarding property right and economic freedom, and also with the society innovation. So, I was mentioning before, we measure three big items: legal, political environment, physical property right, and intellectual property right. Professor Sara Levi-Carciente, she used to be the Dean of the Economic Department, also belonged to the free market think tank in Venezuela, SEDICE. We partner with more than 118 think tanks covering 70 countries, so we operate all over the world, and every year we try to publish different case study. We receive a submission from our partner and we select, and this year we have a case study covering different countries. Here a small profile, short profile of the Professor Sara Levi-Carciente. She's also used to be a senior fellow of the Boston University and PhD in development study, and a member of the National Academy of Economic Science in Venezuela. And every year we host the introduction by Hernando de Soto, why this index is important, policy tool for policymaker, for researcher. We share our data with more than 250 universities and company, and also some government, they use our index as well to measure the protection of property right at the national level. And this is the network I was mentioning before, is from Afghanistan to Zambia to South Africa. Every year we choose the different location. This year we decide, also following different feedback from our partner, to do the global launch in Southeast Asia. In October 16, we were in Manila, in Philippines, thanks to Nonoy and the Foundation for Economic Freedom. We did the global launch. We have the honor to have as a keynote speaker the Minister of Trade, Ramon Lopez, that highlight the importance and also the commitment, and it shows the commitment of the Filipino government regarding how they want to move forward on economic reform and defending property right, and also fighting, for example, piracy. So why property right? Very quickly, I know that we are running out of time. Basically, there are five basic principles: the right to choose the use of resources, the right to to the service of these resources, a right to exchange the resources. So without the freedom of exchange, a third party, generally a government, place all exchange in the discretion of the political bureaucratic ruling law. So property is the basis of the freedom of contract. With lack of property right, we have less freedom, more socialism. You can see, and Sara Levy, she's from Venezuela, she even mentioned what's going to happen in Venezuela, that more than 80% of the law are against property right, and therefore equal poverty. So very briefly, starting from the 90s, we see the rise of the intangible asset, the IP revolution. And I want to show you very briefly what's happened, for example, in UK from the 92 2014. You can see the trend. The tangible are declining and investment in tangible are increasing. Same for the United States from the 48 to 2008. Same for the European Union, 95, 2015. You can see the trend. Just to give you quickly a very quick screenshot about what's happening in the IP revolution and the same from the investment in terms of the GDP. So, quick, why IP are playing an important role, for example, in Europe and or in the United States. And I'm not mentioning Singapore, I'll just show you a quick slide, but you know more than me, and we have also experts here in Singapore. But for example, the IP-intensive industry employ more than 30% of the US workforce, 39% in the European Union. So this means 127 million of jobs based and produced thanks to the IP-intensive industry, mainly from the trademark system. They generate, the jobs that generate more than 40% of GDP, and the 45%, the wages 45% higher on the regular industry. So just a couple of data, you see the contribution of European GDP. Trademark are playing an important role, 37% in the IP-intensive industry, and the same for the European employment I was mentioning before. Here, a quick slide on Asia, Southeast Asia. You can see that in terms of export, the trademark, they play between the 27-60% of the export, and the GDP is between 17 and 50%. For example, Singapore you will see in the international rankings, is the leading country in terms of IP protection and property right protection in the region. You can see 50% of GDP is based on basically trademark, and 29% of the employment in Singapore is thanks to trademarks. Here, very quickly, I'm finishing. So this is the case study we published this year. There is also a study inside the International Property Rights Index by Sara Levy Carcente regarding the last 5-year trend of property right. Very interesting. You can see what's happened in the last 5 years in different correlation. We have other case study on, for example, squatting in Italy. Basically, is an illegal occupation. We have also IP in India and so on. And we have a case study prepared by Nonoy Oplas from the Philippines, from Minimal Government Thinker, about the negative impact of banning brands. So you're going to present why removing trademarks is damaging the economy. And to conclude, basically, this is the list of organizations, magazines that are using our index. Forbes, Financial Times, The Economist, or international organizations like United Nations, IMF, World Bank, and recently also Ernst & Young. And in conclusion, bottom message, we want to more marks, less marks. And this is, I finish my presentation. Thank you so much.